I loved playing Maya in Pen 15, and then after a while you're like, okay, I'm ready to be a woman and take this wig off. And so I was ready to graduate. Now I miss it again. You know, like you go through these phases of like, oh, I miss her. But I'm probably will feel that way about Jane, but like it was really nice to step into another person's shoes. It was different because it was every day. So it was like me and Donald in every scene every day. And you don't really know how it's going. You don't know if it's going to work. You don't know if this tone is going to work or if the chemistry is right. Like it's all a risk. And so you're just doing your best to play it as authentically as you can. So I just approached them both the same. I mean, truly, in that sense. Thank you guys for coming to this. It's great on a Thursday night. Thank you. It's very nice.
I mean, it's kind of like what we were doing on a Thursday night when we were binging this all at home, but now we get a chance to talk about it with all of our friends and you.
Great.
I'm really curious. Like, obviously, we will get to the finale. It's so action-packed and intense. But I want to go back to the beginning. When you were first approached about this, what was it about Jane that you found so interesting?
Well, it was really their take on this because when you hear of someone making a remake, it's sort of like, well, why? Like, what's the point? But also it was the auspices. It was Donald Glover. It was Hiro Murai. It was Francesca Sloan. Like these people that I just admired so much. So, of course, I was like all ears. And I really also, when they approached me, I truly thought I was playing a tree. Like I had no idea what it was about because I thought Phoebe Waller-Bridge was still involved. So I was just like, yeah, I'll probably just say yes to anything at this point. And so as we kept talking, then it kind of became clear that it would be potentially for Jane. And the way that Donald described the pilot, he was like, you're following these two people and it's seemingly like such a small basic task. And it's like an arranged marriage. They're meeting each other for the first time. And then when the bomb goes off, it's going to be like that moment in Children of Men. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but when the bomb goes, it's like really intense and like blood and dust. And it's like so disorienting and it feels so real. And so that was sort of how he like pitched it to me. And I was like, yes. So that just the tone was interesting. And then Jane was just exciting because it felt like a real person that wasn't super glamorous, was kind of an awkward human and very not that good at being a spy at first, I think. And then you get to watch her develop into a better spy and kind of a more open, beautiful person by the end.
Yeah, because that is what we see. Let's talk about the true serum scene, I think, first, because we can work backwards from there. That is the moment where she finally becomes her most open, where she kind of divulges all of the things that she's been hiding for these past 7 episodes. This, of course, being episode 8, a breakup. But it's really amazing how, when you watch back, which for those of you who haven't seen the pilot episode, I really encourage you to go back and watch it.
Sorry, I just gave it away.
That's okay. It really is cool to like watch and rewatch because you see all the little breadcrumbs that you guys are leaving. And in that scene, you guys are basically revealing all of the things that you fibbed about both to each other and also to the company when things start out. So when she makes that admission that she has sociopathic tendencies, she just kind of, made that a little softer when she was talking to those other two. Tell me a little bit about how you had to kind of play that swing once you did start to dive into the character and figure out, how to keep these cards close to the vest, give a little, but not all of it away until we got to this episode.
Yeah, I didn't actually realize like how much she would be holding in until we started filming the pilot, and they started, in the beginning they showed me everything that I would reveal in the truth serum. So I was like, oh wow, that's a lot to hold in, and I never like share any of that. And in the beginning, when it came to the sort of fear of being a sociopath, like I think it was more, instead of her being a sociopath, I took it as just her being scared of being one. And so but she would never share that fear because that's a really vulnerable and intimate fear that she would think would make the other person run away. So I was trying to approach it as like, I'm dating someone that I really like and I don't want them to run away. So what do I do in those moments? I hide like all my insecurities. So I act really cool. I can act stronger. I can act like I don't give a fuck. And there are moments where she falters and she reveals parts of herself that show, oh, I'm actually a lot softer than that, which I loved. But yeah, it was hard. I reference Sigourney Weaver a lot from from Alien, because in that she's like, and I've said this so many times, so I'm sorry, but I love how she's so scared. She has to be so scared in that movie. And I remember hearing about this audition story where she came and she was running late and she was clearly like so nervous, but she was so calm and she was able to like contain it in. And that to me, like when I watched the movie, I thought that was such a great example of someone containing like so much going on behind there, but they have this like steely confidence. And that was like really a good reference and inspiring for me, for Jane.
How did you get yourself in the headspace to do that? Because it is a lot easier to kind of like, do a little wink to the camera type thing of like, I'm not really this secretive. But it is, you are so steely in all of those moments.
I think it's like if you have all of that in you already, like, so it's not, it can't be too heady, but it's just like, I knew all of these facts about her and then I just had to pretend I didn't have those things in me. So it had to feel like it was a part of me and then I'm just hiding it. And sometimes a little would show, but it was helpful because we had, Hiro Murai is such a great director. When we were filming that first scene where we're kind of getting to know each other, we're playing a little cat and mouse, we like did such a wide range of takes. And that's what's so fun about film is you get to explore it in different ways and then they get to kind of decide how it comes out. But it was like, sometimes it was really open and flirtatious and it didn't have to be so dialed in on each line. We had the freedom to play each take a little bit more interested in each other, less interested, hiding things more, playing with each other. It was, I just thought of Jane as a cat really the whole time.
Jane and Max, I mean.
Soulmates. Yeah.
Yeah, now that you say that, like I'm kind of seeing that both personified like in the way that she doesn't want to get too cuddly and can be prickly, but really does, want him around. And also in kind of like the physicality of her as well. Like you definitely capture that kind of like cat-like reflexes that she has. What went into, the physicality of her too? And as she goes from being like kind of a newbie spy to a better spy.
I think, so for me, physicality, it's like, that's how I can act. Like it comes from the outside for me, for my process. Like I don't like thinking first. It's like, it has to feel like I can move like that person or dress like that person, whatever it is. And also I had just had a baby before we started filming. So I was like, and now I'm having another one again, just like ABA. And then thank you, but I was a wreck. Like my body was just not okay. And it took a long time to like get back up kind of. And I was like, oh, if I have to play Jane, like I have to get strong there. And Donald would keep asking like, are you sure you want to do this? Like it's not just jumping in kind of and do it. Like it's going to be hard. And so I trained and got strong. And that was sort of like the first step. And when you do like grow little muscles, it actually, it does change the way you hold yourself. It changes your posture. It changes how you like stand in society. You're kind of like have a little bit more confidence. I'm very soft normally, so it was just a different experience, and I felt really capable of doing things. So that gave me confidence to play her, and I think that was like the first start. And then really, it was sort of thinking of things of like protection. So anytime anything comes kind of too close, it's like, it's not quite like a bad posture, but you're not opening your heart. So it's a lot of this. I don't know.
No, absolutely. I was also thinking about the clothes too, what you were saying about that. When did you kind of dial in to like how Jane would look and feel? What did all of these amazing? I mean, the wardrobe in this show is actually really incredible.
It was hard though to figure out. We had a lot of like phases and of fittings, and I think it came to like we were really interested in seeing her be a little masculine, and it felt kind of 70s too. So we were thinking of like, you know, Jane Birkin a little, Jane Fonda from the 70s, and like there's references to like Charade, Audrey Hepburn in the third episode with the snow outfit. So there were like a lot of mood boards that were from movies that inspired them for the episodes and the feel of them. But yeah, I think Jane just needed to feel like you got like us. Like it needed to not feel like this perfect gown wearing, you know, mega babe. Like she had to be a little real. And yeah, and then what was interesting is that the house is filled with everything she would probably buy but she can't afford. So that was like a fun thing to like look through the closet of like all these brands that she would not know. And it's also like, how does this company know though that she would want those things? And that was interesting. So there's all these like little, you know, details throughout that really make it so interesting.
To your point about the gowns, obviously the second date episode, episode 2, you guys do have to do the kind of black tie thing. She does have to put on the sexy dress. But there's this amazing moment where she's like psyching herself up to like go out and do the mission alone. And you make this silly face in the mirror. And I was really curious, like what that was.
So that was written in the script to like Jane looks in the mirror and makes a face. And I guess that to me was just like, I interpret it as, you know, when you like say you have like word vomit or you say something embarrassing and then you're like alone thinking about it and you're like, "Mwah!" Like you like have to like, get it out. You're like, no, why? Why did I say that? But instead it's like psyching herself up before she says the thing. So it's like getting it out before so she can do her job.
Exactly. She's like, I'm going to do something weird in this scenario, but let me just do it now, and then I won't do it at any point during this mission. But also in that episode and in that scene, and this is again early on when she's like learning how she's doing this, something comes up that John says in the truth serum scene. This idea of like the mimicking. Like I hate when you mimic other people, but you don't do it with me. That's another one where like it's part of what she's doing for her job, but also like a protection technique. How did you find, you know, those types of like, actually also did you just like enjoy those type of spy things, like putting on these personas, putting on these accents, and, you know, sometimes then getting to like shed them in moments, say Vacation Friends, when she tells that couple that she's got a gun and leave us alone.
Before I saw the scripts, I did think it was going to go like super wild. Like we would wear wigs, we would do like crazy characters. And I was really excited about that. But they're like, no. We're not going to, it's not going to be like you see in the movies. It's going to be really like slight. And the tones will just feel different for each movie. And I mean, each episode, which is like its own movie. But yeah, like in terms of the mimicking was so interesting because that is from one of the writers. I think that comes from one of the writers who they base some of Jane on, and especially that she has a fear that she's sociopathic because when she's around people, she just takes that on. And I feel like I do that too sometimes, and my dad does it. Like when he's talking to an Australian person on the phone, he all of a sudden is Australian. I'm like, wait. And kind of like have that thing, you're just mirroring the person in front of you. And so it feels like a survival tactic for her in life, and as this spy, it works out well. Like I feel like the way Jane lives in life is actually what makes her a good spy. It doesn't make her a good human, but it makes her a good spy, and that's what's interesting to watch. But yeah, I did love anytime I get to do anything that's a little different. I always wanted to lean into that, but we didn't get to do like crazy characters or wigs.
Well, I mean, okay, because that is something that we've seen you do already with Pen 15. Yes. We got to see you get to be broad in that show. So yeah, what was it like to kind of have these experiences where we're getting to see you be more interior? How did that, you know, make you stretch your process also as an actor?
I mean, it just felt like such a different role and such a different world. So it was more like I loved playing Maya in Pen 15, and then after a while you're like, okay, I'm ready to be a woman and take this wig off. And so I was ready to graduate. Now I miss it again. Like you go through these phases of like, oh, I miss her. I'm probably will feel that way about Jane, but like it was really nice to step into another person's shoes and just it was different because it was every day. So it was like me and Donald in every scene every day. And you don't really know how it's going. You don't know if it's going to work. You don't know if this tone is going to work or if the chemistry is right. Like it's all a risk. And so you're just doing your best to play it as authentically as you can. So I just approached them both the same. I mean, truly, in that sense.
Are you the kind of actor that kind of like earmarks like big moments in the script or like big scenes or days that you're kind of like, ooh, all right, this one is coming? And if so, what was one of those on this shoot?
I feel like, well, the truth serum, that wasn't written till later, but that felt like anytime it's like a 15-page, like wild scene, I'm like, oh, fuck. But it's, but actually then once you do it, like I actually now cherish those scenes because the ones that make me nervous are usually like the best ones. And there were so many scenes that were like, okay, we're doing this scene, like this feels really clear, or we're figuring it out on the day, but it didn't make me nervous. And that was starting to scare me, like, oh no, I'm not getting nervous. But for that scene, it felt like an unknown to me. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And that I think is always a good sign when you don't know what you're gonna do. And it should feel like that. Like, where is this gonna go? Where will it take me? And so that I think was such a fun, great experience because it went to so many ranges and I surprised myself even. Like I didn't even know what was happening. It was a really wild day.
I mean, I know you've probably seen it a couple times now, but what do you remember of acting that scene? Like what do you remember of acting it?
I remember thinking about the time, and I'm just gonna say it, but I did MDMA, and when I was younger, and I had, I had to like recall that and really, because to me, I was like, what is this? Like, it's truth serum. You have to pick one lane, so I'm picking that, and it's gonna make me feel euphoric and emotional and excited to talk and tell my truth. Like, that's what it is. So that's what I drew on, and so I was trying to just feel that. And so in moments it felt crazy. Like, I don't know. I remember being on the floor with Donald, but also thinking in my head, like, how is this going to work? Because this is like 20 pages and it's very experimental, but they'll edit it, But I was just like...
Aside from the feeling, how do you also prepare for a 15-page scene like that? Because it is so wordy, so much dialogue. Like, what was your trick to getting all of those things that you were going to say out?
So when it's something like that, to me, I have to just get lines down without any like emotion attached to any of it. It's like, it just has to be lines. So I'm not like remembering them in a certain way, or I will sort of start saying it that way every time. Like, I'm just trying to like get the words down, so I'm not even thinking about it then when I'm doing it. And then it kind of can take a life of its own. So I just like looked at the lines a lot.
What is your secret to like learning lines easily and well? I mean, it's never easy, but especially also as a writer, because I
think it's a couple things. One, the writing has to be really good. I think if the writing is a little hard or doesn't make sense or is it's hard to memorize. Like, there are some lines, I've been talking with actors a lot about it lately, where it's like, there's some scenes where you feel like you're like, why can't I say this line? Like, why? And I'm like, it's the writing. It's not you always. Like, there's some, to me, great writing, it does like half the work for you. It's there. It really, you don't have to fill in as many holes, and it makes sense. So it like can come out in a way. So to me, great writing. And then also just, I think it's really, for me, what works is repetition. I don't know, something about memorizing lines has always been repetition, and I tried all the different things of like recording it back or recording other, that doesn't work for me. I just gotta I gotta know it. I gotta read it a bunch of times.
Just got to drill it in and you're right. Sometimes like you get a line, you're like, well, it doesn't sound good because people don't talk like that. Or I don't talk like that sometimes.
I did a T-Mobile commercial and I couldn't do it. I could not say the line because it didn't make sense to me. Like I couldn't like attach it to any emotion.
You got it there though. Listen,
eventually.
You always get it there. Yeah. With this, we talked about the physicality a bit when it came to like, the running, the training and all of that. But I guess I have to also ask you about the stunts too. I mean, I heard you got on that snowmobile and just went to a fly-in.
I did. I was really into the stunts, like too much so, because I don't know, it just was really fun, and I didn't expect that. I was like, oh, I love this so much, and I want to do this. But it's obviously like we had amazing stunt coordinators, and they would jump in anytime we couldn't do anything, and they taught us so much. But yeah, the physicality of it all. It's like when we were doing so many action scenes, you just like stop thinking a little bit. Like obviously you have to think about like, oh, I got to go here and then this, but it's so technical that in a way it's like really freeing. Like it's really fun and it's exhilarating. Like you have adrenaline pumping because this shot's going to go off here and then this is going to blow up and you got to run like that, and it's like, oh my God, but it's really fun if it works, but also scary if it doesn't. But yeah, I loved it.
What was it like shooting the house shootout? That whole
best.
I mean, the kitchen scene evokes obviously the 2005 movie. I mean, you must feel like Angelina Jolie in that moment.
That was cool. Fun. That was like to be able to have like a machine gun, because like I was very scared of guns for a long time, and like when I was younger, I once had to have someone like break a bottle on my head, and every time I would like do that and react before they hit the bottle. They hit me with the bottle, and so I was scared every time I would shoot the gun. I would just go like that. So I really took a long time to get comfortable with it. But the machine gun, it just shoots. So you're just not like, you don't have to like do this. It's just like while you're holding it, and it was fun to do on set, and it was wild because it was like quarter load, so it was serious, and we learned how to handle it safely. But yeah, that felt good to be able to like throw knives, like do all these things that felt kind of cheeky and fun and like fun references to the movie. I loved it.
Listen, we loved it. We were all just like a little jealous, to be perfectly honest. I mean, it is such a fun, wild, out there, action-packed show, but like you said, at the heart of it, it is this relationship, and it's these two people who, by the end of it, have finally like revealed their full selves to one another. As you think about not even like where it goes from here, but like what that arc had to accomplish, like what are you the most proud of like figuring that out and playing out that chemistry, and now knowing that it did work?
You mean, what am I proud of as Jane, as the character? Or no, as Maya?
As Maya.
I mean, I just feel so proud that we even did it. Like, that we got it done. Like, it was so hard to make, and I feel proud that we tried something that felt different. Like, it wasn't a safe choice to do it this way. And so I feel proud that we did it because we loved it, and it wasn't for the sake of, like, other people will like this too. It wasn't for that end goal, and it's amazing if people do, but like we have to love this and believe in it, and I feel like we really committed to it, and so I'm proud of the commitment, because you can't kind of halfway do it, and we really committed.
Do you have a scene or a setup or even a full episode that was your favorite to shoot?
I loved filming the finale. That was just very fun to do. It had everything in it because it felt like filming like a movie. It was just great. And then the fight scene in the therapy episode, which was a different episode before, that was reshot, turned into something else. But the fight scene was just, it felt great to do because it felt like we finally got to like really get at each other in a way that I was waiting to do as Jane and John, because it felt like these small things leading up to it, and I wanted to just like burst out at him, and he burst at me, and it was really intense, but it was great.
So for those of you who may not, again, just maybe
Sorry,
have not
yes.
seen the episode. That's episode 6. Go back. It's like 23 minutes
therapy
in.
episode.
I'm kidding. I don't know it that well. But it is. It's a therapy episode, and it also has a little Naked and Afraid to it as well, which
yeah.
apparently is like Jane's comfort show. Like,
It is, yeah.
What's that about?
I don't know. Isn't it yours too? Like, I mean, I love it.
I thought she was more of a Married at First Sight girl, but okay. That therapy episode, of course, has one of your many amazing guest stars as well. Sarah Paulson plays y'all's therapist. You also have an amazing showdown with Michaela Cole. Another one of my favorite Jane moments. She has some thoughts about how close John and Michaela's character have gotten, and she comes to confront her about what you've been doing with my man.
With a gun, and she holds her gunpoint, and it's great. Like, she's just basically like, "Tell me everything he said." Like, it's just such a interesting way to confront a woman. What?
No, I was actually curious about like the tone of that scene, because obviously she does come in there literally guns blazing, and then as she's learning the things that he's saying about her, you also are having to react to like, this is what he thinks of me and is saying about me when I'm not around. And it's either like your worst fear, like confirming your worst fear, or it's, better or worse than you expected. Like, what was it like playing that scene with Michaela?
Okay, that was so fun. Michaela's amazing, Michaela Cole. And we had Amy Steinmetz directing that episode, and she's so wonderful with actors because she really just like gives such amazing prompts. And actually, for that scene, she had said, it's a scene where you're finding out some pretty horrible things about your love, just sharing intimate details about you, and you're asking for it. And I know I have that urge inside me too. Like, I want to know the bad things. I want to hear it, even though I don't. And you still ask anyway. She had me do like a series of takes where I was like on the verge of orgasming from it. Like, honestly, like it was turning me on to hear all of it. Like, I needed more, like, give me more. So it was like, that was one way in. And then we did another that was just like completely upset by it. And so again, like, it was just getting to play in so many different ways that it was like, oh, this opens this scene up in a way that I just didn't think about it.
Honestly, in every way, this show sounds like it was just fun. I mean,
so fun.
Like an actor's real playground.
Yeah, it really was. And it was hard at times, but it was also just every single person involved. And this to me is a huge deal. It's like they were all good people and like fun people to be around. And I think that's what makes you then feel safe enough to try different things and take risks. And that's why it was great.
I mean, even Parker and Wagner, I mean, they're great. Those other John and Jane are pretty awful.
Yes, yeah, I know. They're amazing.
But it is so fun to get a chance to see you do this and to get to see this just incredible, just dramatic turn as well. What did playing Jane teach you about your craft? Like, what did playing Jane teach you about how far you can go, how far you can stretch, what you want to stretch into moving forward?
I mean, it's so interesting because every time I'm doing something, I'm like, I'm ruining this. Like, this is horrible. And that's just where my mind goes. And I know that's so annoying to hear. But it just is sort of my process, I guess, where I'm like, this is a nightmare and I'm killing it. And I have to sort of like go through that, I think, to then get to the other side of like, oh, maybe it's not even like, oh, maybe I did good. It's just like, I don't know, really. I have to still figure out where my head's at about it. But I think with Jane, I was able to play a character and not have to like, it was okay to be still in moments. It was okay to like not do everything, and there's so much happening too. Like, I loved that aspect of it, and I loved trusting that I think helped me grow. But yeah, I don't know. I can't like look. I think with every project you grow, and with every character, it like expands you in a different way. Where you're like, oh, now that expanded me here, and that's like expanding me here. And I can't like verbalize it because it's gonna like probably hit me 5 years from now.
It will. It'll probably hit you as you're, or, breaking the next character, and you'll be like, oh, I never used to do that before. I wonder where that came from.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But it is, by the way, it's also like wonderful to hear that kind of, because I think so many people in this room, I know myself as well, it can, even when you're doing a good job at something, it can be hard to process that. And sometimes it's better not to process that because then you get like overly confident. Yeah. So it is really nice to hear from someone as successful as you and talented as you that sometimes you're like, I don't know, was that a good take?
It's just annoying for everyone that works with me. They're like, okay, whatever. Like, but I have to like say that it's more just like, and it's not to be like, oh, look at me, I'm so bad. It's just like, I can't see myself when I'm working. I don't know.
It's hard. It's hard to see yourself.
None of us can. I mean,
No.
It's hard.
Well, I guess I'll ask you this as we wrap up. But what do you remember about watching it for the first time? What part of it did you watch for the first time? How did you react to seeing yourself as Jane? Tell me that experience.
I'm like touching this so much with my mouth, by the way, which is so crazy. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to sanitize it. So I hate watching things that I'm in, and what was hard was when I was doing Pen 15, I had to edit it. So that was a big lesson for me because I had to take myself out of it, take my ego out, and not be like, I don't like that take. Like I had to really like see it as a creator and not see it as an actor, and that was like a really big lesson for me. And so with this, I was like, I don't want to watch it because I'm scared I'm going to ruin the experience. But then my husband was like, well, I want to watch it and I'm going to watch it. And so like he was in the room like starting it and I would just kind of like peek and I was like, I really liked the music and I was like, wait. And then I like kind of just kept coming in. But then I would like hide a little if like I first was, showing up and then look and be like, wait, how was that like? He's like, you cannot talk while we watch. And then I watched it and I finally like got so swept up in it because I realized I was like, I have a duty to watch this because it's not for me. It's for all the people who made this. Like, it's not about me. Like, you just take yourself out of it and you're like, oh, amazing. All these, like the filmmakers and the crew, it's just like, fuck, that was great. And I loved the show. And that was a big deal for me because I usually don't like things I'm in. And I really liked it. Like, I really loved what they did. I thought it was amazing.
Listen, Maya, we'll just like the things for you. But we're glad that you've turned a corner and can enjoy with us. Well, we really do appreciate you diving into your process with us a little bit. We appreciate all of you all being here with us for this screening.
Very nice.
And yes, remind people to rewatch those 8 episodes of Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
It's a fun time.
It is a very fun time. And it would also have you like questioning all of your relationships, talking to your friends about their boyfriends and girlfriends.
Your own, yeah.
Really, it's a multi layered experience.
It is.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.